Hello everybody, and welcome to another reaction video where today I'm going to be reacting to the NBA first round for all 8 games or all 8 series that happened, and I'm going to be reacting to every single one of them. I am not exactly very fluent in every single team that is in the NBA, although I have watched a lot of the NBA playoffs and know quite a lot about sports, so I'm going to be giving a reaction and a sort of mini discussion about each series and what I think about what happened in the series, the teams that are in it, and what could happen for the teams that moved on. I will be going with each series on however I choose. I will be going from first in both conferences, then second in both conferences, third, fourth, and that's it. But I want to start off with a reaction to the series between the 76ers and the Washington Wizards. I did watch a little bit of that series, and I was able to see there was a lot of storylines in that one series. Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid do not have a great relationship and have had very high tensions ever since Joel Embiid came to the league and Russell Westbrook and them played each other. But this was a very, very interesting series as it sort of showed that the Wizards have something in them. If they can keep Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal at this level of play and improve their team just a little bit more, they could become a 5th, 6th seed and sort of bounce back to where they were when John Wall before his knee injury. The 76ers were really, really good, and this year is their first time being the first seed in their conference. They have not been the first seed in the conference since the Trust the Process era, and this team is really, really good. Tobias Harris was paid a lot of money this offseason. Ben Simmons is really good. Joel Embiid is even better. So this team was very, very scary and really, really good. This team was really deserving of the first seed, and they had no troubles throughout the year. They were always just beating teams easily, and they were able to lock up the first seed pretty easily. So, as I know, I talked about the play-in a couple weeks ago, but the Wizards actually won the play-in tournament, able to get the 8th seed. So, they would have to play the 76ers. And the Wizards were really, really well matched, surprisingly, against them, or not really well matched. They put up a fight, and they were able to win 5 games, and sadly lost in Game 5 to the 76ers. And yeah, Beal was the leading scorer. Russell Westbrook was really good. So this team has a lot of upside. The second series I want to talk about is between the Utah Jazz and the Memphis Grizzlies. This series also went 5 games, except it started off a little differently. Memphis Grizzlies won Game 1 and then lost the next 4 games to the Jazz. This series was also very interesting at the start, as John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and the rest of the team for the Memphis Grizzlies is very, very young, and they keep on getting better. Last year, they were one play-in game away from making the playoffs. This year, they won the play-in tournament, and I think next year and in 2 years down the line, they can be really, really good. The Jazz had a little bit of a bounce back year after losing in the first round, and were able to surprisingly clinch the first seed after cruising through the entire league, and were easily able to lock up the first seed with Donovan Mitchell playing insane, Rudy Gobert, one of the best centers in the league, and also Jordan Clarkson being a 6th man of the year, the winner. So this team was really, really good, and they were able to also move on. The third series I wanted to talk about was between the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. The Celtics were the 7th seed in this year's playoffs, and they were able to steal a couple games from the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are a super team after acquiring James Harden and are really, really good. So the Celtics, with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, were able to steal 2 games from them. The only problem is that this Brooklyn team is really, really good, and we're easily able to win 4 out of the 6 and move on. This Celtics team is really good, has a lot of upside. They can be contenders for couple years down the line, and they have no problems. The Nets, they're in a win now mode, so they need to win as soon as possible, and this is a really good chance for them, as they could probably make the finals and only be using 2 of their starters at a time and not use all 3. So this team, really good, and it's unsurprising that they won this series. Fourth series I wanted to talk about, halfway through, was between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers were the team to win the play-in tournament and clinch the 7th seed, and were actually really well matched against the Phoenix Suns. The only thing is that most people predicted this one wrong. Everybody thought that the Los Angeles Lakers were going to win the series because it was LeBron and AD, they were defending champions, and they were injured, so that's why they sucked throughout the year. But it was different. This series, LeBron played a lot. AD sadly got injured a couple times. Chris Paul, same as him. But the series was really well matched. It did go 6 games, and the Suns were able to clinch it and win out in that final game and move on for the first time in a long time, in quite a while. So this is very exciting for Phoenix fans. Los Angeles Lakers fans, you guys have a team, and they're going to keep going. LeBron and AD will probably be healthy next year, so you've got plenty of time and you don't have to worry. This team's going to be right back at it next year. The 5th series I wanted to talk about was between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. This series had a lot of drama behind it. The Bucks actually lost to the Heat last year in the NBA bubble, and the Bucks were looking for revenge, and they were able to. Giannis was able to destroy the Heat, and him with Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday were able to sweep the Heat and move on to the round really quickly. The Heat weren't playing well. They actually Jimmy Butler wasn't really good in the playoffs this year, and sadly caused them to lose those 4 games. But other than that, this series was really quick and just 4 games done, that's it. And the Bucks are moving on, and the Heat still have a bright future ahead of them. The 6th series I wanted to talk about was between the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trail Blazers. The Trail Blazers, after acquiring our Norm Powell, were able to bounce back and just get better. Damian Lillard has been insane for them. CJ McCollum has been really good for them. And this team was really well matched against the Denver Nuggets, who have Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and a bunch of other pieces that have helped them. The only problem is we're unable to get it to 7, and one costly play by CJ McCollum costed them their season, and them losing in an overtime game against them by CJ McCollum stepping out of bounds and losing the ball, and Nuggets were able to end it. This series has had a lot of past playoff experience, and in 2 years ago before COVID, in 2019, the Nuggets and the Trailblazers had an actual battle between each other in the semifinals, and there was a lot of overtime games, so this series was very fun to watch. Jamal Murray, although being injured, is still really good for them. This team's got a lot of upside. Nikola Jokic is an MVP, if not the MVP of the league, and this team has a really good chance of going deep. They will have to play the Phoenix Suns in the semifinal, and that's going to be a really good matchup between those two teams. The Trailblazers have an interesting future. Norman Powell is on the final year of his deal. Damian Lillard is getting older, same with CJ. So this team has an interesting future ahead of them. They're going to have to decide if they're going to keep the core or move on. The 7th series that I want to talk about is between the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. This series is also really interesting. Both teams matched up really well against each other, and it ended up having quite a bit of drama between the two teams. The Hawks were able to beat the Knicks in 5 games, although one game in New York was won by the Knicks after a fan spit on Trae Young and caused a little bit of a drama. So this series was very fun to watch. The Knicks, their fan base is insane, how they haven't been able to have playoff success since Carmelo Anthony, and for them to just come back and play well, really good for them. And Julius Randle, comeback player of the year, 1000%. For him to come back and play strong is also really good for this Knicks team. They've got a really good upside. The Hawks have John Collins, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish, a bunch of players. Clint Capella. This team is really young as well, and they have an amazing upside. And they will have to play against the 76ers in the second round. Most exciting series was between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. This series went to 7 games, and Luka Doncic and the Mavericks were sadly beaten once again by Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the Clippers. This one went to 7 games, and the Clippers were able to bounce back from down 2-0 at the start of the series and down 3-2 when facing elimination Game 6 and Game 7. So, this was a very, very exciting series. It went the distance. Both teams are really, really well matched against each other. Luka Doncic was insane. Kawhi Leonard was insane. Paul George was insane, surprisingly, for his playoff P narrative. And this team, the Mavericks, have a really, really high ceiling. Luka Doncic is only going to get better. He's going to be there for the next decade. Porzingis is really, really good. Their rest of their team is really, really depth filled and really, really good. And the Clippers, they're just going to keep getting better as well. Clippers have 2 superstars, so they've got nothing to worry about, although they're nearing the end where if they don't win this year or get a deep playoff push, they may have that narrative of them being chokers in the playoffs, and that's what you don't want with 2 superstars. But that is going to do it for this small reaction video. Hope you enjoyed. These are fun to make. My Toronto Raptors unfortunately did not make the playoffs this year, so I got to watch the playoffs stress-free and without having to worry. But again, I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you want. I'm going to be doing a reaction video for round 2 of both the NBA and the NHL, so if you want to look forward to those, just comment any other reaction videos that you want. I could just comment that as well. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. I am very excited for this round 2 of the playoffs, and I really, really hope that it will get better as it moves on. But again, that is going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. That's about it. See ya.